Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Testing this mic. Yes. Testing our internet connection, knowing that we literally lost 30 minutes of our live last week. So I'm really bummed about that. Let's get Instagram on. Welcome, welcome, Clarity family, to the Clarity Hotline. I was just telling YouTube that we lost 30 minutes on YouTube last week. So what a bummer. What a bummer. So I'm hoping that connection is good this time around. And yeah, we don't have any mishaps. Okay, so first things first, let's ground. Let's ground down. We are really uneven on I don't know why, on YouTube. Okay, ground down, sit comfortably, tall spine. I definitely need this breath, so do it with me. Big inhale, big exhale. Just to arrive, just to hear the breath, know it's there, use it to become present, right? We're going to use our breath. That's what it's there for. It definitely is there for that presence. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have been in your head a lot this week. I have. Keep breathing. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, it is still an Earth moon. It's an Earth moon, and I have my theories on an Earth moon, but last week was a different sensation than this week. Last week was a different feeling, a different overall tone to my day because it wasn't an Earth moon. I believe it was a water moon. I think Earth moons tend to feel really heavy on people. So chat me if you feel this way. I'm running a poll. Let me know if you also on an Earth moon like today. So today, while we're streaming, if you're feeling like things are maybe a little bit heavy on your heart, heavy on your mind. I wonder if I'm the only one. But yeah, keep breathing and just kind of loosen up joints. I mean, honestly, I don't think we do this enough. Is like just, take care of our bodies in a way that feels honestly good for you, because nobody's equilibrium or alignment needs the same thing. We're all in our different cosmic journeys, and so we're traveling and we're going different places, making different moves. It's not going to look the same for everybody. Both mentally, spiritually, physically, our alignment is unique to us. So let me get into what we're talking about today. I'm hoping we have strong connection, because I'm hoping to have a conversation with everyone about this, because this question came in from Myra. So, how do I know if I'm screwing up my kids or not? I think that's like a great question to have today. And I'd love to, hear from anybody else, because I want to kind of tie this into this week's video, the upload on YouTube that went out on Tuesday. And it talks about lazy mothering, lazy parenting. And it sounds really controversial, like, oh, you're a lazy mom. But the truth is, it's such an energy mismanagement problem. It's so not your fault, It's just you don't know otherwise, right? So definitely worth a watch, that video. But I want to kind of build on that, because some of what I'm feeling right now, the heaviness that I feel, has to do with just making sure I'm on the right path for my son. We talked a lot about homeschooling in the last several weeks, because my whole world has changed, and I'm homeschooling my sons both right now. And yeah, it's just, we're looking at next year and planning for next year. So, yeah, I'm going to keep him home, especially the oldest, to keep him home for homeschooling. And I think this ties in a lot to the question for today and the video that went out this week. And I I just wonder, because yesterday, I'll lead with a story. Yesterday, we were in Jiu Jitsu class, and he just had a really rough day. Um, I think we had a successful day overall, but the way maybe his overtired nature, because I know he was kind of like tired, by the time jujitsu's class started, which is something to think about when you think about scheduling your kids for things, is how tired they will be. And somebody with ADHD probably can benefit from something when they have the most energy. If it requires like a mental focus, like the prefrontal cortex to not be tired, right? To not be overworked. And so this is me totally analyzing, the situation because I just want to make sure I'm present to what happened, the fact that he would not focus at all. Pretty much asked to leave class, not leave class, but just get off the mat. If anyone knows jujitsu, it's like wrestling on a mat. And I thought jujitsu would be great for him because he does like to wrestle his little brother. And at least in jujitsu, there's a willing participant to wrestle with him because at home, that is not the case. I'm sure one day they'll get into it. Ugh. Hopefully not in a bad way, but they'll probably love to wrestle and just roughhouse, which is, fine, fine. Just be safe, please. I just think about that and I think about one, the moms there were really supportive. And all the parents were actually. I think we were all kind of, chuckling a little bit at like, okay, this kid is just gonna not focus today. And, is what it is. We all have them. We all have those days. But I think it makes me feel like, okay, what am I doing wrong? I literally think like, oh, what am I doing wrong? So I don't want to keep thinking that because I think I talked about this last week too, or maybe a couple weeks ago. It's like that refrain in my head, what am I doing wrong? You don't want to always hear that in your head. You don't want to hear yourself asking you that. You definitely don't want to ask your kids that because that would be the saddest thing in the world because that's where it comes from, right? This talk of, what's wrong with you? Why can't you get this? Why don't you have this already? Knowing that they're contending with so many thoughts on a given basis. It's like the visual stimulation is amazing. Everything's brand new. The sensory is just on overload. I can hear everything, or I'm not listening to you because I'm listening to my own thoughts. And then meanwhile, somebody over here is trying to get you to listen to them and they're like screaming your ear off. Yeah. So I think there just comes and there's like almost an inevitability that you feel that you're going to feel like a failure as a parent. Almost inevitable. Can we just talk about is it inevitable that we're going to feel like a failure? Is it an actual inevitability? Is that a word? Yeah, because I think I felt like one. I think I feel like one when I have kind of the what is wrong with you, but you know, um, conversation in my head. It makes me feel like, okay, what am I, what, why can't he just blend in? And that's the saddest thing, I think, because ultimately what I want is for him to just blend in, just do the work, to follow the rules, listen to the coach, do what you're told. And, he's definitely not that kid. But I think in a way, by me trying to wrestle with this idea of like, well, how can he just focus more? I'm essentially wanting him to fit in, and blend in. And so, am I almost starting that kind of dialogue, that narrative of wanting him to fit in someplace? Like, what if it's not for him? I'm forcing him to jujitsu. I think it's a good thing. He has more good days than bad for sure. But, I think that's just kinda sad. I had actually another mom there, like I said, they were all supportive, all the parents were just kinda giggling, like, "He's just so cute, he's so sweet," that kinda thing. But, there was another mom there, and we were chatting kind of as this was going on, as the unraveling of his behavior was happening. She was just like, how do you not lose that happy spirit when you try to get him to settle down?" And it's true, I don't want to do that. I don't want to kill his childhood. And in a way, I think this is him kind of settling into his childhood, and it's just coming out, and we're experiencing him being a kid. And he's only 5. He's soon 6, but he's still only 5. And um so I don't know. There's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. That's another thing with kids who start school too soon or start that formal institution. They kind of do buck the system with biting, hitting, aggressive behavior because they just aren't ready to be like corralled. And this is science. This is not just me saying it, but they're not ready to just be like, I okay, sit down, shut up. You do this, And so it does. And then having so many people wanting the toys you want. It's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I'm overstimulated. Like, get away from me." And what do? Hit, bite, pinch, scream. I mean, they're just trying to um like explore and live and thrive. Even I think that's exactly what they want to do, is thrive, right, on their own terms and not anybody else's. But yet we are, steering the ship for them and telling them, you have to be like this, you have to be like this. So I don't know. As much as I hear myself say that right now, and I felt it last night, even though I did feel like a failure. I did feel like a failure. At the same time, I was thinking, I don't want to zap his spirit, especially not this early. Another reason why I took him out of school, or why, you know, we agreed to take him out of school. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I think that kind of ties into Myra's question, how do I know if I'm screwing up my kids or not? So I did write some ideas. If you have some ideas, let me know. But I think it kind of ties into, the video that went out this week about just this idea of this low energy and exhaustion that we have going into motherhood, and how it kind of shows up is our availability and our attention to the situation at hand, right? So I'm not one to just put them in front of an iPad or in front of a TV and just try to get their energy down that way. I definitely want them to get their energy out while they're awake, so that sleep is like slumber, right? It's like a nice, restful slumber. And I just want to make sure I'm still connected because I got a little error again. Testing, testing. Yeah. Okay. Um, okay, sorry, where was I? Yeah, it's like we put so much on our plate that we're leaving little time to parent, or little time to be with our kids. And I say parent just for brevity, but because that's what you are when you're with your kids. But at the same time, just you being present and available, if you want to put it that way and take the name off it, the label or the stigma of this idea of parenting your kids, whatever you need to do to make it sound better for you. But the ultimate truth that underlies that is that you just want to be available to help them in this world, help them get along in this world. I mean, imagine if a bird, I mean, there's nothing I the pack animals that have the babies and then they're soon walking, and then they have to fend for themselves with food. That's one type of mindset, right, within that pack animal. So I think a buffalo or a bison, American bison, they come out of the womb, they're born, and I mean, maybe 15 minutes later, they're walking. And that is pretty cool, right? If you think about, that's not every mammal, or that's not every species. I should stick to just animals. Like um, birds take a while to learn to fly. So they're fed and they're still like germinating almost, as a fully fledged bird while they're in the nest. And so they're not ready to fly 15 minutes after birth. And so the temperament of the mother really lends itself to that. However long it takes for your kids to fly the coop, you know, um, is as long as it takes, and then your maternal instincts are really just going to always kick in, because ultimately this is our nature. We're just as animalistic, just as carnal as our fellow animals, our fellow species over there, animals and how they do it, have the baby. What do they do? Not all species are the same. Penguins, I think, don't they? I mean, ultimately, the bison, to go back to that one, is a pretty much a pack animal. They kind of, I mean, they do their own thing. Think of cows. They're kind of a family in a way, but they're kind of just herded together. So it's not like they're choosing to be together. Everyone fends for themselves as far as the grassy patch. But uh, I don't really know. I don't really know all the animals. That's not the road I'm trying to go down, but the point is you see the difference, right? In all species that have babies, which is everything, because how do they reproduce? Even plants, if you think about the plants, the undergrowth needs light at the end of the day. So if a tree is covering the leaves under here, or the plant that wants to grow off it, it either needs to be a low light plant that's fine with that, or, you know, and which it usually is, if there's like a lot of umbrella of shade, then it's going to be a plant like an orchid that can handle low light. And then if something grows under a big umbrella, usually the top starts to come off, right? They fall, and leaves fall and they turn brown, and then it gives the light to the undergrowth. Everything under to gets to grow above. And it's just this evolution, this natural evolution. And so what we're doing is, I think, trying to go against what animalistically or instinctually we want to do for our offspring. But yeah, I think at some point we do wrestle with this idea of like, aren't you ready yet to do this on your own? How long do I have to do this for you? Whatever it is, whatever it is. I mean, change beds, change sheets, change clothes, change white butts, after potty. At what age is that? Some people think it's 2 years old. Some people think it's 3 years old. Some people think it's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Everyone has their own little timeline, right? That they think is generous and ideal at the same time. And so I think those can kind of toggle back and forth. It's like, oh, okay, I'm done with this. Because when you're having a bad day as a mother, as a parent, if you're having a bad day, then your low energy is rubbing up against their zest for life and their gusto to keep moving because, they didn't burn their energy off in time to fall asleep right now at this particular time in the day. Their energy is still ramped, or and a lot of times if they haven't seen you, you'll notice your kids really want to cling to you because they need mommy time in particular. They need mommy time, because that looks more like the cuddling and the nurturing. And then if it's like, oh, they want to play, then it's like the dad, really that energy, that dad energy comes in to do the playing and do the wild exploration of tools and topics, and moving the body and going outside, sport, right? Athletic, this idea. And so that's what that energy is. And so either one, they're needing and they're feeding off of you for either one. And so if you're low energy, if you mismanaged your day, your energy throughout the day, then there's is probably going to also be mismanaged by the end of the night trying to go to bed. Well, that's rubbing it against each other, right? Like I just need 5 minutes and I'm not able to get it all day. I just need 5 minutes of just nothing. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. I'm not here. And if you don't get those 5 minutes, right, then yeah, you're going. It's hard to maintain your cool, maintain your chill, maintain your patience to deal with, the clingy kid that wants to rub up on you. I remember when I first stopped nursing, or when I was starting to get ready to stop nursing my second son, I was so touched out. I was like, don't touch me. And he started biting me. And I was like, oh, how are we going to nip this in the bud? I didn't know, but we were already at 18 months. And so I said, maybe it's time we start to wean you off the boob. But I felt like that was more than generous. I think I wanted to go to 2 years. Ideally, it would have been great. But at the same time, I think we're bonded for sure. He and I, my nursing son, because my first I didn't get to bond. I didn't get to nurse him after 9 months, which breaks my heart still to this day. I definitely wanted to nurse him longer, but my nutrition levels and stuff were not working when I was pregnant with my second son. So the doctor was like, "Oh, you got to stop." And then I hear like too close to delivery, and he was premature my first. So my second, they didn't want any kind of issues. Like when you lactate and nurse, you could deliver the baby earlier. So all these things made it logical that I stop. And so I still kind of think about that. But anyway, so, all that to say that um, you just kind of like get to a point where you're just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I think I'm just, I don't want to do this anymore. And it starts to feel like you're ready, right? More and more and more, even though you still have the good days where it's like, oh, I don't want to lose this. Um, I think what wins out is either one of those, right? I don't want to lose this. And then also, I think he's okay. He'll be okay if he's not nursing anymore. And that is really important to recognize that, because while we're wrestling within ourselves, we're going back and forth with this idea of like, oh, let's just keep him on the boob longer. Then we also recognize like nature, right? Nature versus nurture. We know what we want to do. And then at the same time, we also know what they might need, which is probably to not rely so much on me, right? For those kinds of things, for the soothing aspect of it only, if that's literally what it amounts to. It's very precious, very sweet. I get it. I absolutely get it. Okay, moms, I get it. But then at some point, right, what do your instincts say? Your gut and your maternal instincts, what do they say in order to benefit this child? What will be best for that child? And I think that's the soundtrack more prominent in your head. And that is why, even though, it feels like, oh, I'm at my wit's end, is maybe because you just wanted to be sure. You're at your wit's end because you just wanted to be sure. So you kept him on the boob a little bit longer. So you reached your 24 months of nursing him, and okay, I'm at my wit's end. I can't take it anymore. We just have to wean. And hopefully there's at that time when you're at your wit's end, you know, did you give yourself a little bit more stamina to help that transition? That's something to think about too. It's like, I know that I want to wean him in 2 years. So 24th month, give yourself some time to not reach the breaking point where it's almost, a tragic separation between baby and boob. It's more like okay, all right, I get it. And I feel like that was with me and my son. He did still want to nurse, and we just kind of distracted him. We did other things, and I held him, you know. Um and I think honestly it does. It breaks your heart. You're like, what's one more day? It's nothing. Um I think ultimately I was like, I want him to be in a good place. Like, should I travel, which I started to do? And that was a big thing that, he wasn't sad that I wasn't there. Like, his normal soothing mechanism is gone. I really wanted to be part of him finding his soothing technique, his self-soothing techniques, while I was still around. So he knows that this was part of the lesson. This was part of mommy's intention for you. I'm not abandoning you. I'm still here. So there's definitely like thought, right? Thoughtfulness that goes on behind the scenes when it comes to just thinking about managing yourself and your energy. You don't want to reach a breaking point before you are helping this child in a way that you see fit, that is the best. Like, for instance, for me with wanting to get some help, uh, I want to hire help, and I feel like I'm a little bit in a stuck place. Do I hire a nanny on specific days of the week and just keep it consistent and then work around that, and then pretty much have him or her come, based on what my non-negotiables are, what they are becoming, what I'm starting to, in my new transition, figure out for myself, my non-negotiables in both work and personal life. And then I just kind of plot her there. And then that way, I'm not burnt out. My mom's not burnt out, who's helping me with the kids. She's my other half as far as like, day to day. Um, but yeah, because we're here at her house. So I just, yeah, I don't know how to kind of work that in yet. But I do want to start like a bench, right? To use HR speak. I want to start a bench of potential candidates. I know it's not smart to do that and line these people up and then they get other jobs and then you're like, oh wait, I was really hoping for you. You really want to take advantage of the one that you're like, no, let's try it. That's why when I talked about hiring a nanny in a video some weeks ago, how do you hire a nanny? Um, that was one thing that was really important is you think about your own schedule and then you definitely give some trial time for each of your hot seaters. So you got some really great candidates, give them some trial time and within the next 5 days kind of a thing. So put them on tomorrow and then the next one put them on the day after and then bring one back on Thursday, Friday kind of a thing, whichever of those you liked, and just kind of play stagger trial like that. And then if you don't have a lot, just extend the trial a little bit longer. So that way they're committed to both one, proving to you that they want this, you also giving them time to like, did you really want this or do you want to bail? Giving them time to confirm within themselves that they want to work with you and your kid. So that's like give them a little bit of a longer time. But yeah, keep the trials going, right? Until you're confirmed, like, okay, we've ran through all the possible scenarios, possible situations, and I feel comfortable that, you're the one for the job. And I know that's what I have to eventually do. I I think I'm yeah, I think I'm just like, oh, okay, that's something that's a hill I've got to climb. And so when we talk about managing our energy, I've got to now prepare to carve out time to do that because here's the thing. Here's the thing when it feels like you being a lazy mother, you're piling so much on your plate that you haven't, because your plan is to maybe have the kids in school, or your plan is to start to make them fend for themselves a little bit more, or make their own lunches and pull out their own snacks and not ask you for so much. And so you're starting to wean them off of needing you 24/7. Well, as you're starting to do that, let the space that starts to open up for you to do other things and pursue other ambitions outside of the home, for instance. So, mompreneurs starting to build their business, their legacy. You don't want to completely abandon ship here, right? So, there's some methodical planning, some mechanics to, okay, I know that this kind of thing usually takes me about, if I'm going to hire, I mean, a good 20 hours to post, find, interview, review resumes, interview, trial, at least 20 hours the week I start, because then there's the back and forth. And I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, I don't play. The interview process, I spend time on it. And that could be 20 hours over 20 weeks, honestly, over 2 weeks rather, 20 hours over 2 weeks. Because let's say you're not a perfectionist and you definitely go off energy and you're like, just bring them in. Let's see how they do. I'm kind of in the middle there where I don't want to waste a lot of my time. And it's like, dating. You don't want to go if you're on the app or something. What I hated about being on the app way back when was I hated the kind of the small talk. And then you had to meet them and then small talk some more. And then it's like, oh, immediately, it's just, I don't know, it's just something to do. We were chatting and it was cool, but if this isn't going to go anywhere, maybe we could be friends. No, no, don't want to be friends. Uh, so I'm particular about my time because going back to what we're saying here, piling so much on your plate when you haven't yet freed up the space to let your kids start to fend for themselves, right, in that time frame. So let's say you start to free yourself of an hour with the kids because they are taking a class, they're in soccer, in little league. And so if you needed to, you could take that practice time and make some calls. Okay, so you're starting to do that, but you're still there, right? You're still dropping off, or introduce, hi to the moms, and stepping away, to take your call, but eyes are still kind of on the field, so you kind of know what he's into, as much as you can, right? And then you can start to step back even more. Maybe stay in the car and for this practice, you're not going to go to the practice. You're just going to be in the car and let them handle it, and then hear from your kid how it went, because they're actually vocalizing things they're vocalizing responses. The kids that aren't vocalizing responses, you probably do want to know a little bit how they're doing, right? So you might want to stay in earshot and eye line with your kid, because and take the call on in the bleachers, because you don't have that conversation yet, or that communication where it does remove you from having to be there all the time. See how everything is different? Every mom is different, every kid is different, every uh, opportunity to be available is different depending on what they're into and what you're into. So you're kind of starting to carve out, you're recognizing that, okay, well, when he's in little league, I'll take a call, and or this will be my staff meeting, because then I can know that I can get interrupted. I can't take a coaching call during his little league because I still want to kind of be available, which means my coaching calls fall on, this day and this day at this time, only that between these two times. And that's what I'm filling my time with, because that I know I've got a nanny, right? I've got my mom to help, or they're with their dad, that kind of thing. I can start to play with these things. But again, they would have to be considered non-negotiables to be an easy transition for you to start to step away and step into more of your work life. And this is where I'm at with the transition, because homeschool is very new for us. I've got a huge learning curve. I feel like I'm way past a big part of it. I feel like, okay, we got this part down, the admin side. Now let's tackle, how to make it fun to learn. And if it's not fun the way I'm doing it, let's find what is, so that it stays fun for you. It stays something where you are cognitively developed, by the end of this year, in the ways that, is age appropriate per the scientists and per my own maternal instincts, my gut, as far as like, you know, I kind of want you to be here at the end of this year. I want you to know how to read. I want you to know, I love reading. I want you to be active in something that you're really finding enjoyment in, and on a consistent basis, and you're making friends in that athletic outlet. You're making friends, and so you guys vibe on something that's really you have in common, something that's really special for you both. That's what I would want at the end of this year. I guess for my son, I'll speak for me. At the end of his 6th year, those are the kinds of things that I think I would want for him. And so in the meantime, it's kind of, we're trial and error, just like with the nanny. We're finding our groove, we're finding our flow. What is yes, no, maybe so. What do you want here? Because I don't want to pull him out of jujitsu, I'll be honest. Soccer was a lot like this, where just so not focused on the things for long. I think I can see some of what he's into, and that's kind of the drilling of the lesson, and practicing and real quick rapid fire things, and movement of the body. He loves to move his body, so I think next we should try track and field, but that kind of thing. And then it's like, when you're getting into the scrimmages or the sparring, it's fun, but it also is something where he's got to isolate and focus and get intentional. And if that's just not where he's at, energetically, emotionally, physically, then he's just not going to do it. But I just want to say that when we start to look at how to pull ourselves away from mom duties and become more of the entrepreneur mom that we intend ourselves to be, but still being available, still kind of stepping in and making sure, is everything okay on a regular basis? We're not completely abandoning ship as far as that goes, because that could be a bigger lift later, right? More energy leaks. So you just kind of, we're towing the line here. We're just kind of seeing how it's going and then stepping back a little bit more. Are we finding our flow, finding our groove? Is this an energetic match? My kid and the nanny, or me and the nanny, just the household energy, the total vibe flow inside the household where I want to work and I want them to be. How does that feel? So this is all important. So I'm measuring that at all times, right? This is part of the job of mother. Like, this is part of my work. So as best as I can, I preserve my energy so that I can do some of that. I can do the follow up with the nanny after the first trial week and say, how did you like it? What did you not like? And then talk to my kids. What did you like? What did you not like? And then just make sure that we're all on the same page. They know they have an outlet to talk to me. The nanny knows they have an outlet to talk to me, and be honest. And we're kind of setting up our rapport right in the beginning. So there's intentionality for setting up this rapport with this nanny who you want to be long term. I particularly want to be long term with the nanny I hire and bring on, because in a way, I mean, they're just an extension of me and my mothering. So I will I will be asking them to do certain things, work on things, reading, numbers, playing, just play with them, take them outside, things like that. They're literally just an extension of me. And so you've got to make sure that's a match, right? So that you want them to feel like, feel just as good as you want them to feel with you. You want them to feel that way with the nanny. You want that to be a pleasant experience. You don't want any trauma there as far as like, oh man, my whole childhood was spent with that lady and I just hated every second of it. It's like, whoa. You heard that from your adult kid, you'd be like, what in the world? Where was I? How did I not know that you hated every minute of that? I mean, honestly, you don't want to be that mom, right? You want to know. I could tell, your spirit totally just flattened when she'd come. Uh, when she left, you were happy or just like burnt out from however she was treating you. Maybe you were acting out. Like, I just noticed, right? These little shifts in you. And that's what you want. Those are perceptible by a mom, by a parent who's watching for it. Just to be on their P's and Q's, just to make sure, like, I'm going to be attentive to this because we're in the hiring process. So I'm being intentional about making making this work, or finding really what works, right? And so to go back to Myra's question, how do I know if I'm screwing up my kids? I think, like I said, I mean, I just felt like a failure yesterday. I don't know that we get to escape that feeling, even though, I mean, yes, of course, we do get to escape that feeling. What brought me back to a more positive outlook on myself and my mothering was, like I had just said, right? Just, I'm just kind of gauging, I'm just observing. I'm not trying to force fit him, into a box. Because I don't know if he's a round peg or a square peg, right? And I don't really know what the hole is that I'm trying to fit him into. So I just don't want to do any force fitting at all. I just want to observe, just want to make sure I'm here and available. If this doesn't work out, we'll try something else. And I think that lightness and that levity in my outlook helped me come out from thinking I'm screwing up my kid. And I think that's where it is. I think that is what has to happen, because while you're in the judgment of yourself, the self-judgment of I'm screwing up my kid, even the question is, there's the potential that you feel that way, right? If you questioning, am I screwing up my kid, is you feeling like you're screwing up your kid, feeling like a failure. And you're failing them in some way, like you're missing the boat somewhere. And meanwhile, their whole livelihood hinges on this, right? It's kind of like how I felt in college. If I failed a course, I was literally going to end up a bum. I was going to flunk out of college. I was going to be a bum. That was the worst fear of my life, because bum was a thing. The way you said that, bum instead of unhoused person, bum was the phrase back then. And so anyway, I thought that, yeah, that I would just be living on the streets because I couldn't get it together. I can't pass this class. So the idea, and then high schoolers, right? In high school, you think, oh, if so-and-so doesn't like me, it's the end of the world. She's the cool kid. Oh my gosh, if she doesn't like me, then who am I? What does it even matter anymore? Big stuff, right? And so the same goes, because we think so much rides on this moment, that I get this right, that I get their few precious early years right, that I don't screw them up. because their childhood is everything, right? It's what they reflect on, it's what they base their identity on, you know? And so as much as I can not move the chess pieces myself and just kind of stand back as observer and guide the piece if I see it's going to go off a cliff or it's oh ooh that is a bad move and I know it, then how do you approach that, right? How do you kind of guide your kid without making them just do it your way? Like there's other ways to win chess. You don't have to just do it one way. How do you help them find their path to checkmate, their path to fulfillment and enjoyment, right, in life? And so that is where I'm at. When I feel like that, that's how I talk myself off the ledge because in the moment, it's heavy. Like I said, it's an earth moon. So if that's what's going around right now, then I get it. You're not alone. And then at the same time, what can you tell yourself otherwise that's going to give you a boost in your spirit, right? And sometimes it's a good night's sleep is all you need. Uh, if you're like me, during an earth moon, especially, I would say I do have some insomniatic tendencies during an earth moon when it feels very heavy. And those are usually moons I journal a lot. And then also like the physical self-care of coming into your nature. So it could be into your feminine, into your masculine. For sure, I can speak to the feminine side of things. That is a great moon, the earth moon, to tap into what makes you feel feminine, um, and nature, things like that, right? Connecting to nature, remembering that you know, I'm doing the best I can. I am loving these kids as much as I can. I know I have some bad days. I know I have some bad days. I know I have some triggers that they can't push if they don't want mommy to explode. They're learning me, right? And I learned just like I learned my parents, just like you learned your parents. We're learning each other, right? And yeah, no, I don't want them walking on eggshells around me. That's a problem. And if I felt that they were doing that, I would find a problem with that. I know that I would need to figure it out myself. Um, or at least, work on kind of what's going on here energetically. and and it could go back, it could tie into like energetically, am I trying to do too much? Am I trying to do too much? Is too much going on to where it's not a good time to start that other thing? It's not a good time to step more away from your kids when they need you right now. Say they're 3 years old, especially like 2 and 3, they still need you a lot, a lot. So that's not a good time to take on more extracurriculars. It might be a time to just bear down and be with the kids and be with their whims and try different toys and go outside, be in nature. I mean, really, nature is always the answer for every age. Be in nature, be outside, breathe fresh air, uh, yeah, play, right? It's like you don't want to, if you're at all depriving that aspect of who you are as their parent, then you're depriving them of that in their childhood because then you're not giving it to them. And so whatever you feel is lacking in a situation is what you are to bring in the situation, you as the parent. And so for me, if I'm starting to find that I'm being pulled to other things, so other ambitions, taking on more client calls, in particular, because I recognize the demand is there enough to where I've got to make myself more available. I'm going to have to open up my calendar more. And this is where I want to get ahead of that. It's kind of like you know the ticking time bomb, you know that it's coming and you just want to be ready for it. So there's like a nice little window of overlap, a nice little window of overlap. And you'll know it if you're staying tapped in, turned on to your insight and your intuition, and you're staying clear-headed and you're tapping into clarity every single day. Like, am I in alignment? Is this right? Is this feeling good? And if not, okay, hold on. Might need to sleep on it. might need to back off of whatever I'm trying to pile on here, because a stressed out entrepreneur is going to try to mother these kids, or a stressed out mom is going to try to serve her clients. And we can't be having that. We want to make sure that we're feeling very balanced, very centered, very grounded in ourselves. And if at any point our energy there is compromised and we're feeling way out of balance, then we know a lot is going on. I mean, we just came from tax season, and that's not a great time. I mean, I know most CPAs aren't even taking calls during that time, if unless they're working on your filing. They're not even taking your calls. It's like, send me an email. Don't try to get on the phone with my people. We're working on these taxes to get them all done in time, April 15th for USA. And so it's like, and then they'll start to schedule you out, right? Unless it's really urgent. If it's a tax related question for the previous year, of course, they're going to fit you in there, but there's scheduling for that, right? They're scheduling for those kind of urgent conversations for that accountant whose busy time of the year is that time frame. And so they're not going to be adding more to their plate. They're probably pulling late hours. They're probably not working out as much as they normally do. And then they'd like to make up for it after tax season is over. They're back in the gym, just as hardcore as they were before. So see how it's kind of this ebb and flow and this natural just movement with who you are, how you want to be, how you want to show up. And if at any time the balance is compromised, then you step back. You look at it. What do I need here? What needs me the most right now? And where can I put in reinforcements that are an extension of me, in my business, an extension of me at home with a nanny, with an assistant, customer support team, that kind of thing, that starts to take from my plate the things that are piling high, maybe administratively even, paying bills and things like that. Just automate the bills. If it's taking up that much time, you learn to automate, you learn to outsource, you learn to use AI in the areas that are going to lighten your load so that you can stay present to CEO matters, stay present to what matters at home. So see how it's just this constant like vigilance over you and what you want and what you're building, because you're building a home, you're making a home, but at the same time building a legacy for your family. So it's a lot to do. I recognize that, as far as just kind of staying vigilant over yourself, over your family. It's very heavy. It's very mentally taxing. And that is why I say you do want to recognize what's your body telling you. Are you tired? Are you feeling like you're not as present with your kids? This is all signs. Your heart hurts, you're guilty, right? These are all body sensations. These are all bodily sensations before they ever were labeled an emotion with a title like guilt, fear, shame. Um, they were only just first a sensorial feeling that was alerting you to something out of alignment. And so just staying present with that, and you can switch into alignment with ease because you're ahead of it, right? And you're vigilant over it. You have clarity on what does feel better. You have clarity over what you want, what you are building this for. You have clarity for what you want home to feel like. You want clarity. You have clarity for what you want your relationships to feel like, your marriage. You have like legitimate vision for your entire life. And it's so crystal clear. You could taste it, that if anything is falling out of place, a loose thread, loose end, whatever, an energy leak, something's just tugging at you and it's just not letting you just be in your space, be with who you are, be how you want to be, then okay, it's time to recenter. Let's figure out what this is. Let's recalibrate. Let's realign. Let's connect with my kids. I'm literally not going to take the next, hour from my calendar. I'm canceling it, calling the assistant, cancel my plans for the rest of the day. And I'm going to just be with my kids, because that is what I'm being incentivized to in my spirit. That is feeling more pressing, more promising as far as being the solution to the problem. I'm going to go there, right? I'm going to feel into this today, and I'm going to be with my kids. And then if they start to center themselves and adjust and soothe and find uh, a more regulated spirit, right? You're starting to see them come back into themselves and who they are and how they want to be. Then it's like, oh, okay, we're all back in our happy place. And then maybe you can go back to the latter part of your afternoon and close out your day or not, right? Just being with that though. It's no hard and finite rule. It's no hard and finite start and end time in the day or date, even start and end date. Everybody's different. Everybody's childhood, right, kind of demands something else from their parents. Everybody is different because every individual is different. Every child is different, and what they need is different from everybody else's. And so I think that's a big thing too. With when you think like, how do I know if I'm screwing up my kid? It's like, are you looking too much at other people? Are you looking at other kids? How much were you doing when you fell into that place of feeling like a failure, feeling like you were screwing up your kid? How much were you comparing your kid to others? How much were you comparing yourself to others? And then what happened? And then was that the shift that made you feel like the failure because you had something, some contrary and kind of viewpoint that showed you that, oh, I wish it looked like this. So then use that contrast to just start to inform yourself about, okay, well, I like that. Let's see if it'll work. Let's try it. We're just going to try it. It's not set in stone. We're not saying this is the only way just because I like how it looks for that family and I like what they're doing. We're going to try it on. We're going to see if this plays out. And then in the seeing, in the trialing, in the testing, you're going to find what does work for you and your family, right? As long as you're attuned to the fact that the ultimate outcome is to get something that works for your family, not to look like the Joneses over there. It's really what works for you guys. Because all the while, your kid is different. All the while, your kid is unique and their walk in life is unique and it's unlike anybody else's. And their start might look different from everybody else's. Their start in life might look different. And it might look delayed to the commoner, like it might look like, oh, you should be doing this by now. And it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter because ultimately you want what for your child? You want what to be the through line in their experience of life and their journey through fulfillment, right? You want that to look a certain way and to feel a certain way. It's not, or sorry, you want it to feel a certain way. It's not going to always look a certain way like you might think. So giving that space to have an open mind around what is going to work for your kid will alleviate a lot of stress and feeling like a failure, feeling like you're screwing up your kid. So do that today. Take some time to journal about maybe what's heavy on your heart, heavy in your mind, about whatever you're feeling like is the reason you're screwing up your kids. And then do some, especially right now under this earth moon, do something that takes care of your feminine, that takes care of your mother nature, right? Like, so yeah, I think that wraps that in a bow pretty nicely. I was going to try to kind of touch on some of the stuff that YouTube missed last week because we missed 30 minutes of it, but I'm like, we could just go onto Instagram and find the full video there. But I do apologize, YouTube. I don't know. Today it looks like we're okay. We're online still. We're still here. So that makes me happy that Wi-Fi is working for us. Okay, so I will see you next week. Oh, and next week actually is a very special clarity hotline. So we're going to go a little bit into kind of how this works. So I know we talk ultimately mindset and everything, but we're going to put in some systems. And if you have questions, if you have live questions, we're going to take them. As far as putting in systems as a mom, as a mompreneur, that really does lighten your load and make things feel a lot easier, makes you feel less like a failure, makes you feel like things are thriving a little bit more, regardless of how your household looks, regardless of who's in your household, right? So yeah, sound good? Okay. Peace. See you next week. All right. See you next week, YouTube. And remember, check out the links in the description. You'll see all the ways to work with me, especially when it comes to business mentorship and coaching. All that is there in the description. And I will see you next week. Peace.